Hey guys, and welcome to season 3 of the Us People podcast. I'm your host Savia, and in this season, I get to make my guests laugh, cry, and even make them think about life a little differently with the questions I fire over to them, which digs into their lives and professions a little differently. We even had a chance to change up the intro, giving you a fresh, new sound. I look forward to sharing season 3 of the Us People podcast with you. Let's go.
Peace, this is Y. I'm an artivist and the founder of creativeexpressions.co. You are listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Made up my mind, now's my time to shine. Now's my time to shine. Time that you let go, time that you let go now.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host Savia, and today I am humbled and have the utmost gratitude to have the beautiful Y here with me. He is an artist, activist, founder of Creative Expressions, poet, educator, and has his own vlog called Why Not Show Love, which is a beautiful title. Guys, show some love. And I want to welcome the beautiful Y to the show. Y, thank you so much for coming on the Us People podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Honored to be here. I always like to start with a little tone, for my musician fams, that major 7, major 9 life, If you know, and if you don't know, Google it, But it all starts with that sound and that utterance, Before we could speak words, we made sounds, So that's my little homage to always bring it back to the foundation. And before we made sounds, we had silence, and that's the rest notes, So it's the space that gives you the groove, So I'm here to groove with us, and that's such a beautiful title, and I love the work, and I'm thankful to be here.
Oh, wow, thank you so much. Even hearing you play the guitar even before we began, it sounded so silky. And I know creative people understand the words silky and smooth.
Yeah. And I'm listening to your voice, actually, so you got to give yourself credit, because your note smooth is the root note of that. So, put some respect on yourself for being a muse, You got the radio voice down. So this is, yeah, we're in here.
Oh man, we're in here. We're definitely in here. Why?
Yeah, we're in here. I'm a sailboat. You're the wind, so I respect my role over here. Yeah.
Oh man. So, Why, my first question for you, I would love to ask you, could you tell me about your background of where you grew up and how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, the origin. And, as we mentioned before we started rolling, I'll start with the human suit and I'll take it into galactic, since I got full freedom and permission over here to let it loose. And, that's what I got to give to anyone who's taking their valuable moment of life to listen to us. It's an honor, first and foremost, to be here. But where I started, I like to say my spaceship crash landed in Queens, Jamaica, Queens, particularly on the south side. And if you're not from New York or familiar with the New York area, we got some notable folks out of there, some 50 Cents, some Nicki Minaj's, also legendary jazz musicians as well. We were once home to people like Billie Holiday. Even Miles had a little stash spot over there in a second. And my family is of Guyanese descent, both my mom and dad. So I come from those Caribbean West Indies roots, which gave me my taste for spice, and the discipline, Pops, if I had a 90, he's like, why is not a 95? If you got 100, he said, hey, where's the extra credit? So there was a lot of focus and discipline. And, it was good food. My mom was just really a loving person. So it was a good balance, My mom was just always, she's everybody's mom. So if you come through to the crib, you're not leaving without eating,
Yes.
She busts up roti, she does all of that. So she claps it up. So it was always in my nature to be of service through that, and also have a little focus and discipline, So that's the origins, literally. So shout out to Jamaica, Queens, and then Guyana, that's the background over there. But I've tapped into knowing that, there is a deep things. And, as I got more into my spiritual path, my given name is Yogi, but of course 4 letters is too long for me, so I had to cut it down to Y, because it helped me ask a question, and I'm a nerd, so I like why because it's like monosyllabic, so it's one word, so one syllable. Why? So
Yeah.
it takes the least effort possible to say, and it's a question, you know. And I always ask myself about why am I here? What's the purpose? And grounding myself in that purpose allows me to, you know, feel as an individual but connected to all things. So, you
Yeah.
know, it reminds me to do that. So, you know, I always want to connect myself to the diaspora, you know, coming from the, you know, a background of that. So just want to shout out the ancestry. We are part of the, you know, the Afro-Caribbean diaspora and all of that. A lot of times it's disconnected. You know, there was a lot of tensions in Guyana over there, but you know, I always want to give acknowledgement to blackness and that to be the source of all of it. You know what I mean? So I know I come from down the lineage of it, so I always want to acknowledge those roots all the way back to the origin and to the source, and especially to the divine blackness of space, which is once again those rest notes, man. So everything is there.
I love your energy just from even just having you here. I can just feel it. It's ambient.
Ooh, high
It's-
vibrations.
It's high vibrations. So why? Let's get more into you.
Yeah.
Can you define yourself as a person and who you see when you look in the mirror? But on the flip side of that question, has there ever been a time where you have looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you manage to transform your life to come back and be the person that you want to be from a dark space or from a space that you didn't recognize?
Ooh, these are lovely, lovely. You know, take a moment to breathe on it. You know, let it sit and marinate. You know, all food tastes better if you marinate it. You
That's
know,
true.
so yeah, I think once again the connection was growing up in New York from a West Indies household. You know, by the time I started school in elementary, it was different because you know I was raised in a certain way that once I started, you know, hanging around more friends, I noticed it was different, you know, and I think it was because of a lot of those things, you know, I credit my parents for. But to be real, I did grow up with some challenges. You know, my pops was diagnosed with like schizophrenia and those things, so I didn't really know. And then he was dealing with like alcoholism, so like I just, oh man, sometimes he's really happy, sometimes he's really down. That's how I perceived it as a kid. So and then, you know, sometimes it would be a little, you know, West Indies family always, yeah, wait, pull out, you leave your shoes over there. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you didn't pick up your stuff. So, like, I was like, all right, you know, I used to kind of be, to be honest, a little jumpy on edge because, you know, but then my mom would be like the total balance of that. So I feel like the universe blessed me, like what you said, with that dark and that light. And, you know, now as an adult, I have seen the blessings of both. You know, I think when I was younger, it was really easy for me to appreciate what my mom gave to me. But now, you know, as I've been on my career path and the focus I have and to be an independent artist, it's like I couldn't have done that without what my pops gave me, which was like that work ethic. And he was the one that always said, you could go further, you could go further. And, you know, he actually published a few poems, you know what I mean? So that was the first artistic thing he instilled excellence in me of like writing and studies, you know. So like he was always someone that was like, it's important to read, you know. I would go to the library, you know, after school and like continue that. I would listen to a lot of music and kind of get exposed to the arts through that. But I was always in my bag. I'm a middle child also, so I have an older brother and a younger sister. So yeah, I got both of that yin and yang, and I really went through that. And as I went through the public school system out here in New York, you know, I tried to find my way. And then I noticed I didn't really fit into one table, you know, because some, you know, in New York, we got a lot of Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. So they're like, yo, this guy, he's this. And I said, nah, man, this. And people, oh, he's Filipino, he's this. I would always be called a lot of different ethnicities, and it was funny to me. So I always felt like since I couldn't really fit into one table, I was bouncing around. And, you know, as a kid, that was very nerve-wracking because, you know, you want to find that place that feels right. Yeah. But the symbol that I've connected to is the question mark, you know, not knowing, you know. So, like, my mom always reminded me to, like, be open-minded and, you know, treat everybody with a certain level of etiquette and respect. And I think later on, by the time I got to middle school, I realized, you know what, maybe I'm supposed to be able to bounce around in all these spaces or feel these places, and maybe it's okay to be a different part of this and not feel like just one thing. And And I think that's probably my pop situation because, people who deal with those things, they're very multi-energetic, so one day I'd be like, okay, I really want to do this, or one day I want to get into the reading or music or this, and then I always felt like I couldn't settle for one, and I thought that was such a flaw, but later as I grew into that, I realized, wow, we are being prepared for a multi-dimensional experience. So now I can see it was advantageous because some people I know that stuck to one thing and only did that, they have trouble moving around to that. But I always keep I like to say I keep the clay malleable. And speaking of mirrors, an activity I used to have, and I think maybe because of middle child syndrome, I used to look in the mirror a lot and have these deep conversations with myself. And I remember it was very therapeutic because, if there was something I didn't like that was going on in the household, like I said, I was kind of a little bit shy. So I would go to the mirror and build my confidence. I would kind of make myself into who I want to be. So I'd be like, hey, I'm a blah, blah, blah. And as a kid who had a very active imagination, I would just make myself laugh, and I would try to make myself feel good because, I don't know, from a young age, I felt like that was something that we have access to.
Yes.
And something to the source that was in me. And because same thing, I had an older brother who's really good at academics. He got really, really high marks and grades. And I'm only a year younger than him. So it was kind of like, yo, follow. They gave me his old clothes and everything. I don't want to wear his clothes. I want my own, So I felt like I was in his shadow. And then my sister was a girl and a baby. So she got it, and my parents had experience from 1 and 2. So the third time, they learned some things. So I was always kind of feeling protective with her, and then that, and then that was kind of something. So it was kind of an introspective time where the mirror was there. And then I looked inside myself for a lot of answers. Once again, at the time, didn't seem like the best move, but now I count my blessings for those. Yeah, so it was really, really good for me to have those experiences and, to reflect on it. And I think one major thing was kind of realizing there was something bigger out there guiding us. Because like I said, for me, it was imagination. And when I heard that Einstein quote that he says, imagination is more important than knowledge. And I started to understand that all these creative ideas and forms of expression come from an imagination. Someone had to think of it before it came into reality, right? Before we had cell phones or airplanes. So we could make this thing that flies. Everybody's like, la la la, you wildin'. But it's for those people who stick to their imagination that create things that are off the hook. So I'm glad that I lean on my imagination to this day. So when I got trouble with the rent, I said, hey, I said, look, my parents survived all these things. I'm gonna make it through. And then when I don't want to work a job, I'm like, nah, I could dub that job and something's going to come through that's aligned with my spirit and my work. So that was something to kind of become a little bit self-reliant on certain things because, like I said, my family was dealing with things and they were struggling to pay bills. We grew up on the welfare and them things. But it was normal because everybody was like that where we grew around. So only until I started going to school and that, I realized, oh snap, this one got more shoes, or this one knew this, or this one get a haircut every week, or but it was good because I did have a family foundation. Also, my mom and dad are one of 8 each, so I have mad cousins, and it was like a little tribe. So it was almost like the Wu-Tang clan of and there was older cousins and very little ones, so there was a lot of age diversity. So a lot of cousins and that. So when I wouldn't have the best experience, I could always run off to one of the cousins or one of my aunties or that. And we were all geographically kind of around the same area. So that felt like a support system, So once again, I'm thankful for coming from a large family, but also it's always, you're always gonna hear both sides with me, The other side is it's easy for me to kind of be introverted and go on my own, but then when it goes around people, I always feel like I do have something to share, but I try to ground that in imagination, in the foundation. So that was it. The mirror talks at a very young age, a curiosity through it, and a willingness to explore and, having certain draw to that. So yeah, I would say that was a big thing in my origin. Just a lot of, exploration,
I love that.
Imagination.
One thing that I did connect with just when you said it was the actual fact that regardless, you didn't want to take a job necessarily, but you wanted to wait for something creative to come your way that you know your expertise would give 100% to. Now, not a lot of people would stick by that. And the reason why I bring it up is because I know that, and I've said this many times before in the show to other people, with other guests, that sometimes working a 9 to 5 or working in a field that is not for you can be so destroying. And I don't want that for anybody who is creative. So anytime that comes up and someone like yourself turns around and says, listen, at the end of the day, go for what you want in your life.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's key. And even if you have to wait, like my grandma always told me, she's such a wise woman, wait. Having patience is one of the strongest skills that you can ever have in your life. Loving what you do and having patience are skills that not many people in the planet will master. But once you are able to be consistent and meditate on those two and master them, you will have a gift that not many people will be able to have, you know. And that was beautiful because, and in relation to you talking about having a West Indian family, one of the things that I've also realized is my grandmother wanted to be, for example, a photographer and a writer. She never got to do it because of the things that were happening at that time. So she had to be a mother. She had to do things she didn't want to do because she didn't have the freedom like we have. Now I call it creative freedom.
Yes.
Right? Whereas before it was just creativity but without the freedom.
Ooh.
So there are so many things that, and I'm so glad you're on the show talking about this, that we ourselves are grateful for. And I can tell that you have utmost gratitude for what you do, and it's beautiful to be able to have that. So I want to thank you even before I move on for just sharing that.
Big love, big love, big love. Yeah, and thank you for the acknowledgement. Because, you know, I like to say we were all born artists, right?
Yeah.
And some of us lose it, right? And those are blessed to those who keep it going and realize the creativity and the expression of that is a very necessary part to life, right? Because same thing, when I bumped heads, they were like, oh, get a job, do this. And I was like, you know, same thing. And I said, Pops, what about you? You was wanting to write and you was wanting to do this. And my mom's was into arts and crafts and stuff. And I was like, they afforded me the ability to do so. I always told them, I said, you guys made me this because this is, you know, y'all coming in and the sacrifices that a lot of immigrant parents and, you know, us or first generation, you know, they did so much for us. And, you know, I think they were hoping for the doctors and the lawyers and that, but they allowed us the level of freedom. I love how you said creative freedom to be artists, because, you know, my pops had to go straight to work and straight to that. My mom, same thing. They got married at a very young age and they were shipped off, boom, come into the States because there's better opportunity, more jobs, right? The Guyana government collapsed when, you know, England was at the time, you know, occupying and colonizing Guyana, and they got their independence and the country collapsed. So a lot of Guyanese, they went to Canada, London, New York, you know, some Florida, and it was an exodus. So like it was because of their trials and tribulations that allowed us to become the creatives, right? So big up to them, you know.
Big time. That is big time. One thing I would love to do is I would love for you to walk me through a day in Y's life, okay? So from when you wake up in the morning to when you decide you're going to get creative in any field or any aspect or ambience of what you do, to how you flow through your day. I want people to understand you more and what you do with your skills and your talent.
Yes. So there's a concept I learned called circadian rhythm that I actually jacked from farmers. You know, this is something that farmers do, and animals do this instinctively, right? A cat never looks at the clock, but I have a cat. My cat meows exactly when it's dinner time. Because, so, you know, shout out to the cat gang. I got my tabby key over here in the cut, you know what I mean? But shout out to our cat. They see another dimension. That's another topic, but to say this is what I got, guys. I have one schedule every single day that I always fail, but I still keep this one day schedule. And I'll give you guys that schedule. And I'll tell you why it shows me how humbling failure is. But every time I look at a clock, I have this schedule as a reference. And it came off of learning about circadian rhythm. So at my point where I decided I was going to be, this is it for me. I'm jumping down the rabbit hole forever in the bottomless pit of the arts, right? So I decided, because, I thought about what my pops was telling me and what my mom's was showing me in the schools, and those things came, and I said, you know what? I have to be more structured than a job or school if I'm going to succeed at this. Because structure is that left brain that I said I'm so in admiration of in people. So I said, wait a minute, if I could be on a structured schedule the same way, because a school can structure your schedule for 4 years to get a degree or this and that. And I said, if I could create a structure that allows me to express all facets of my life, the health, the wellness, and well-being, I can do this. So this is my daily schedule that, like I said, some days I'm hitting it all the way, but most days I fail, but I'm still a simplist and a minimalist at heart. So this is what I do, guys. I strive my best to get up around 6, and most of the time I do. Sometimes it's a little later, sometimes I wake up a little earlier, and I just trust in that, but that's the average time. And the first 2 hours I'm up, usually, 6 to 8, I strive not to look at the devices. And the first thing I do when my consciousness is there, that I remember I'm in a human suit, I give thanks, like you said, attitude, gratitude. That's the first thing. Once I know that I'm conscious, I say, I am thankful, because there is a moment that one day we won't be, we won't have this blessing of the form. I kind of like wiggle my fingers and check in, and then I say a meditation or a prayer, depending on what somebody refers to it as, but I think it's really an inner check, and I thanks. And I usually try to give at least 10 to 15 things I'm grateful for. I am grateful I woke up, I'm grateful this, and I think that just sets a tone for my consciousness. Then the second thing I do is I go for water. As simple as it sounds, it's big. I go and I have a filter water thing that's at room temperature, boom, 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 and then I give sustenance to that. And then I say I'm gonna do something good for my body. So that could sometimes lead to going out, going into the park, hitting the yoga mat, do something that's there, but really give that meditation, give that gratitude, and do something physical, because this body is a vessel and it must be taken care of, just like anything needs to be maintained. And I know that this is a vehicle, and we only got one, so I always want to make sure that first couple hours is not in the devices, because I'm easily to get overwhelmed. I used to start before and go right into emails, or feel like I have to go into my musical practice or scales or something. But as time came in, I really need to build a relationship with myself. So the first 2 hours are about that. And then after I get through those 2 hours, I look at what are the most annoying tasks I have for the day. And this is usually, I need to get rid of them quick, because if I know, I gotta bun them up fast. That's how I say. I said, I gotta get these things done them up. So like, if I had to do this email or this invoice thing or this other thing, or I had to have this, uncomfortable conversation I need to kind of set up for, or the food stamp office telling me I need to renew this or that, or you know what I'm talking about, because life be lifing, I say, look, next to me, get rid of all of the things. Now that I'm in a grateful position, let me go balance that. You're going to always hear this in my conversation, this balance of both sides. And yeah, I try to tackle some of the more challenging tasks, and that will sometimes be, for me, it's administrative things. It is things that are, like I had to learn to develop my right brain and I'm sorry, that left brain energy. So I started really tapping into, okay, you can do, I read a great book called The 4-Hour Work Week that would say you can really do a lot in a focused 2 hours, then maybe it will take 4 hours. You can reduce it. So once again, I have a whiteboard. I write on the whiteboard all the things. I have stuff from the day before. So if anything didn't get done, eliminate those tasks, harder to have. And that will usually take me, same thing, about 2 or so hours. And then after that, it's all in these chunks. Then the third chunk is to do something that feeds my creative spirit, so I'll tap on an instrument, I'll write a journal entry, I'll do some form. And what I learned to be not so rigid, because I used to be very specific and be like, it's meditation, yoga, workout, and park. But then I learned body, gratitude, body, hard to deal with. What those things are varied, because I learned how to be malleable. Then I bring in the creativity. And then that will usually take me to about, then I'm at about the midway of the day. So this is noon. And then that's usually when, I kind of follow this intermittent fasting. Then I will insert my first solid at that. And I'll feel very accomplished. So if nothing else happens that day, I'm already around noon and I'll feel like, and it's really about, I don't want to say tricking ourselves, but it's about consistency. And the body really knows, the body keeps a lot of score. So I would be like, okay, by that time I'm sitting down and I'm breaking that fast and I'm eating that meal around noon, 1-ish or so. I then could be like, look, if I don't get nothing else, I got this and this done. So it's a lot of like positive reinforcement in my work. And then after, while I'm eating, I will then be like, okay, now let's gonna see what's gonna happen after. So then that'll take me till about 1 o'clock, and I'll see, okay, I might have to dive deeper into some of the admin or dive deeper into the creativity or record something or do that. But I make sure to show up to my practice and my process on the regular. Some days more things come out, some days less. And I learn to accept that's not my business. My job is to show up, and my job is to move in flow with my energy.
Yes.
And then once I finish that, I'm in the afternoon session, then I will, I'm kind of an ambivert. I can really be introverted, and I sometimes know, and I'll be like, hey, look, you do need to do some social things. So I would be like, hey, now I should do something social. So I might either attend an event or look at what's going on, or maybe I'll say, okay, this time I'm gonna listen to a podcast or go into something that feeds my spirit. Because like I said, I'm a sailboat. I look for inspiration. I want to make sure I'm listening to other art. If somebody's like, yo, I dropped my album, maybe I'll make that time a day after that to be like, hey, I'm gonna listen to this and then focus. And then that's when I'll try to do social media stuff, because that way I can know, look, half of the day is kind of rolling on through. Now I can tap into something, because I have kind of an addictive mind. So if I would jump into this when I open up, then I could easily lose into the scrolling. Like, so I'll be like, okay, these are the posts I'm gonna plan. This is what I need to do. This is what I need to get back to, or this is the event I'm gonna go into. And then same thing, I usually have dinner around 7-8 o'clock. And then once again, if there's an evening event after that, I'll be like, boom, I'm gonna catch this. And then I do my best to knock out somewhere between 11 and midnight, and then I repeat the cycle. So it's a very simple schedule, circadian rhythm, look it up. And it does have a lot to do with sun balance. So as the winter months come in and the days get shorter, in the UK, sun is a very rare commodity out there.
Yeah.
You guys get 2 whole days of summer. I was like, I came over there in summer. I made a mistake. I came with t-shirts and shorts. I said, oh man, I had to go to the store and start buying hoodies. I said, this, and everybody moving. I was like, y'all got a different perception out there, So I was like, but the balance of seasonal things, and then of course, if there's something like I need to plan, sometimes I'll plan like a trip with a couple of friends. I wouldn't coordinate that. But yeah, I stick to that basically every day. It's sweet and simple. And then when I deviate from it, like I said, not every day I kind of deviate, but those things give me like a reference point to go in. So that's how a typical day is for me, and balancing those energies and knowing some days are going to be more slow and lethargic. Some days are going to be really fast, 1, 2, 3, but to flow with my energy and not really be so hard on myself. And that's a typical day. And to recap is like to do something, offline and give thanks to the Most High, treat the body well, do something for that. Tackle the hard stuff first, get it all done with, show up to my creative practice in whatever way feels necessary. Look at some way I can either digest or ingest some form of creativity, because I'm not an island. Everybody's here doing the similar things that I do. So I never want to feel alone in that. Going back into the process, diving more into whatever needs to be done, eating and having these other meals. That's what I think is very important. And then boom, going out to certain events or staying on my own, or then watching a movie or something could be there too. So to balance the downtime too, because I used to always think, oh, it's a waste of time to do this, but I know we need rest, energy, and we need to balance that. So that's helped me, kind of balance myself, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And that's the schedule. Anybody could sample that schedule. And once again, I want to shout out circadian rhythm. Look that up, about how to move in harmony with environment. Especially when you live in urban areas, I think it has to be a little more of a conscious practice. Yeah.
I love that. Oh man. So let's talk about activism, because this is an important part of who you are. So anybody who doesn't know what an activist is, I'm going to let Y break this down for you also, because I think you put 2 words together. You put artist and activist together.
Artivism. Yeah.
Artivism. And I loved it. And I thought, what a great way to break down what activism and creativity is together as an artist or a poet or whatever you are creatively. So could you break down for me what an activist is, but also what do you feel about human rights, but also how do you feel that you give something to the table for what you do for activism, human rights, for just your creativity.
Yeah, it's real deep because like we said earlier, I was like, oh, I'm really into this. Writing and the poetry was like the foundation, so I give that the credit. And then when I got into poetry, I started learning meter. Like when roses are red, violets are blue. That's a very melodic thing. And even when I learned the alphabet, it was A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V W X Y and Z. That's 4 bars. So I tell people that's 4 measures in music, and we learn so much things through nursery rhymes and through story and telling. So that was the key story for me. Now in activism, I got more into like the traditional thing, which was kind of like political and doing these things, and it was great. But to be honest, I saw some of the contradictions in that side, right? And how I started to define my activism was activating our organism to its highest potential, to not only serve self but to serve community. And I got into bell hooks, and she said like something like activism is our rent for having a human body and living on the planet. I might be botching the quote, but I was so moved by that, to say that we're on this space and we are ready to activate our organism to its potential. And when you do the best for you, that is the best you can do for another. So I would see from, I look at it like a cup, right? If you pour into your cup enough so that it overflows, like that pyramid of champagne glasses, right? It can fill into other people, but you must focus on keeping filling your cup. So how I've defined activism is to pour into that cup so plentiful that it overflows with the divine abundance that is within every universal moment, and to know that no matter what your financial status is or that, you have the ability to use your organism to that. And the other half of it was the creativity. Like I said, this conversation, our hand gestures, our tone, you have such a beautiful speaking voice. It's like it's always art, right? Because how you pick the shirt you're gonna wear, how you style your hair, right? We're all creatives. And I think we kind of filter that out, and we think, oh no, that's just, especially when you just do it to do it, right? You don't think it's something so special. I didn't think it was, but that's actually what your most creative expression is from, right? From you being your most authentic self. So when the old artist cliche, right? We become what I call the slashers. Oh, I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I'm a poet, I'm a singer, I'm a writer, right? And I was like, I need to reduce this thing to one word. And it was the feeling or the emotion to reduce it, right? To reduce, to simplify. So when I started looking at art and activism, and I saw the hybrid word of artivism, I said, this one thing, I could do theater, I could do poems, I could do this, I can play music, but I could always keep it under this home, so to speak, that to me it fits into. So that came in, and just once again, coming from an immigrant family and social justice rights, we grew up on certain financial challenges and then things, it really made me feel for that. And I realized, like, wait a minute, I want to use my life to be of service. I came across a term, I think this might be Buddhist or from the Vedas text, called Savia, which is to be of service. And I said, wow, I want to make sure, like everybody, when I first started music, I was like, give me the Grammys, give me all them things, give me the money, give it all, right? But I got blessed to get some opportunities. The first time I was put on a plane was to do music and stuff. So like I literally was brought to places and spaces through art. So when I saw what happened to me as a kid from Southside Jamaica, Queens, I said, wait a minute. The universe blessed me. I got to give something back, and you'll see in all scriptures, they talk about tithe, which is the idea of if you make $1, they say 1% should be going to this. And I think that is your energy. Part of your energy should be used, once again, fill your cup, but it should overflow into being of service to something, to create some impact in humanity. So that really helped me kind of put all things into a house. And I had so many years where I felt like, oh, I want to be identified as this, or I want to be identified as publishing the curriculum or this. But it was with working with kids when I started doing youth work. Shout out to them. They would always show me that you shouldn't be quantified. Back to that origin as a child, that I like to go to the video section, the movie section, the audiobook section, and nothing was wrong with that, you know? I struggled with that by feeling like I needed to fit into a box. But when I heard artivism, and then I started realizing, wow, all of my skills could fit under this simple hybrid word, it felt like the thing that I identified as. So, you know, my when people ask me what I do, the one line I have is I'm an interdisciplinary artivist, meaning I use my different disciplines and mediums to activate my organism to its highest potential, to be of service to myself to the degree that it overflows into others, and hopefully create some sort of impact that is, you know, beyond just my own ego, you know, because I have an ego like everybody else, you know, but I want to keep it in check and balance it and know that I could shine my light, but I want to be grounded in purpose and intention.
I think there is good ego and bad ego. I think, like you say, balancing it out is a beautiful thing. I think sometimes people get carried away because they want to prove something to someone. People in the world want to be accepted, and that's one of the key things about ego, is wanting someone to accept you by showing your confidence of who you are. So by having that, that's when people show their ego the most. And it's something that we learned within ourselves, so when we can use it and when we should not use it. So that's one of the things. But one other question I would love to ask you is, if you had a piece of music that you can have to your poetry or just an art form that expressed who you are, what piece of music would you put together while you were acting or being a poet or just being your authentic creative self? Because music says so much within our bodies. It expresses who we are.
Yeah.
You know, but if you had a piece of music that you could use to express you, what piece of music would you use and why?
I'm gonna have to go with what came to my mind, and this is gonna be an out there answer, but I know you with the smoke, so we out here. I'm gonna use silence.
Ooh.
And the reason I'm gonna go gangsta on them and say silence is because there is no way. There's no way. I have so much love for anything that creates a vibration and a frequency that's impossible, because I have such a deep love for the jazz. I have such a deep love for the reggae and the soca that grew up in my household. I know I could not, but the one thing I couldn't live without that gives every sonic piece of thing its groove is the silence in between it. Because if I play, you know, right? I made that up, right? But what gives it that is that space in between it. And without that space, we got nothing. So if I had to say one thing, it's that nothingness that makes everything like the blackness of the universe. It's that divine infinite well to draw from. And it's when you take that moment before you go in, before you start, that's where to me everything comes from. So I got to bring it back. And it is said that the universe has a tone and has a frequency within its space, right? You know, when you're totally quiet in a room, right, or you hear literally nothing, you start to hear or sounds that are internal organs. We're technically playing a music all the time. When I teach music with kids, I go like this. I go, who doesn't think they're a musician? And then, you know, some will say, no, I'm not it. And then I say, put your hand on your heart. And I say, does anybody not feel a beat? Means if you don't, you're dead. You know, so everybody feel a beat. And I say, I need everybody to say what they feel, even if it has no words on top of the beat. And someone will be like, I don't like this. I say, great, next. And then they're like, that was it? I say, yes. Someone will be like, oh, someone will be like, da 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 da. And I said, congratulations. You have a beat playing and you composed a rhythm and a melody on top of a beat. You're officially a musician. Welcome to the club. And then some of them like, wait a minute, no. And I said, look, even by definition, beat, melody, rhythm, pitch. Your tone has a pitch. It has that. You have a sequence of notes and a thing. That's what a melody is. You just did it. So, and then they're like, they try to argue with me. And I said, nope, no arguments. It's official. You're in the club. Unless, did you not feel a beat? Did you not say something you felt over the beat? And like, they'll try to be, oh, no, but it wasn't da-da-da. It wasn't Beethoven's Sixth Symphony, or it wasn't the new song from da-da-da. It was rolling and putting my door. You know, like, we have our ideas of what we want, you know? But really, if you let go of that, you just do what you feel. You gave me the access. And I said, that's the science. So like, I always need to bring it back to that silence, you know? So like, it's something I have to remind myself of every day, because imposter syndrome is real. We feel like what we make isn't good enough. Who we are isn't enough. That's conditioning through a lot of systemic structures, right? So it's a lot of unlearning. And the way to the unlearning is sit with yourself in that deep silence, in that deep groove, and you're going to find out what resonates with your being. And once that, you start from that, that's the one thing I couldn't, you know, any concert, anything, right? Before that first beat plays, what does it do, right? It reaches a moment of absolute silence. Then it's boom, and then it goes, right? And same thing is with us. That's the spark of creation. So, you know, I'm going with silence for the win. You know, I hope it wasn't dodging the question, but it's over here. Yeah.
No, it's actually unexpected. It's actually, and I love things when they're unexpected.
That's it.
Which kind of brings me to my next question for you. So you're the founder of Creative Expressions.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would love for you to be able to talk about what you do and why you do it, because the title alone is powerful. And when you have a title that says Creative Expressions, therefore, you are an educator just through the title.
Yeah.
Please tell us more about Creative Expressions, what you do, how did it come around, what triggered in your mind to say, I want to do this?
Oh, wow, I love you. You're on point with just the way you hold space. Thank you for that. I want to give acknowledgement to that. Beautiful black woman, bringing that energy of the divine feminine. Just got to give that shout out there, because it needs to be shouted out and emphasized. And that's what happened, you know, coming from what we talked about, I realized that I had a different perspective. And the key why the world never says, we got enough singers, we got enough writers, we got enough poets, we got enough radio hosts. The universe never puts a cap on that, because everyone can bring their unique perspective. As I started seeking and you know, taking some art stuff and going into schools, my schools didn't have strong art and music programs in the hood. So I realized, I said, there's not enough places that create a platform for people to express and explore. They usually, you know, if you go into music, they'll say, okay, guys, we're going to start. This note is C. And then they teach you the major scale. And then they say, oh, if you hit this, oh, you hit the wrong note. That's what they tell you. You hit the wrong note. And then it creates anxiety. And I started realizing, wait a minute. People can come to that. Like, I do know a lot of the musical stuff. I spent a lot of years studying it. But if I wasn't myself first, which is what started organically with the words and the nothingness and coming from no musical family and that stuff, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have had the skills to be able to do that. Whereas if I was like forced into lessons at a young age, like some people do, I know they'll take piano for 12 years, then they quit for 2, they forget everything. And I said, how was this a part of your life, 2 days a week, recitals and all this from age 5 to 18, and now you don't remember nothing? I had to say there wasn't a connection. So the key of Creative Expressions is to create a platform, you know, to build an environment that impacts, educates, and empowers, where it's non-hierarchical learning. We use the cipher, the circle, as a symbol to know that everyone is both student and teacher. Whether this is your first day on an instrument, writing, singing, playing, rapping, anything, you are both in a position to teach and in a position to learn. We have now gone to develop it, and I'll kind of give you see my steez, I'll give you the beginning, give you the end, and I'm gonna bring it right back to the middle. Now we've been developing things like the online courses, the grant writing stuff. Shout out to Stronger Bond Studios and Oni and Made in Queens. They are now reaching out to me to help develop those things for those. So anybody want to tap in, please hit me up about that. It's amazing. And then I started getting into virtual teaching and this and that. But I knew I jumped into a bottomless pit. I wouldn't have thought from my love of words that it would lead me to express. I grew up in New York around hip hop. That was just the cultural influence. I have a West Indies background. That brought me to that bump and that jive, all of that niceness in me. And then when I started playing certain chords, I saw this is jazz chords. This come from deep history of black music, and jazz being once again a traditionally black art form. But when it came to institutionalizing of the music, a lot of it never created the artists like Charlie Parker and them. You know, people forget Miles Davis was on scholarship to Juilliard, and he left to go play in black clubs in New York with Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker, and that's where he considered his real education happened. So me knowing that, I said, wait a minute, creative expressions has to allow freedom, like you said, creative freedom. Yeah. So it was so beautiful when you said that. And I decided that it's a circular-based organization where I don't really do the hierarchical thing, where other artists or my former students have now become a lot of the teaching artists. So I teach them not to rely on me, and I also teach them to teach me. So like some of them may use a software that I'm not familiar with. They'll hit me to this. You know, the person who is the chief tech of my company and the production company is one of my former students. You know what I mean? So he turned into audio video specialist, and I met him. He was making beats on a crack software on a computer on Fruity Loops, you know? And he told me he didn't want to go to college. So I said, come on, bring him in. I started paying him as a teaching assistant when he became a senior twice, you know? I started having him plug up the wires, and I told him it's okay. When a lot of people were telling him, oh, you're going to be a fit. I saw he had a genius mindset. He's into education, but school isn't the only place you're going to get education. Exactly. Education is learning. So it's about learning. And yes, it does take refining. It does take growth. It does take discipline. I don't want to take out those features, but the way we do is an ever-changing thing. In a lot of ways, music and arts are being taught is literally from a system from the 1800s that is from colonized European energy. A lot of black and brown and people of color, we learn things kinesthetically through our bodies. And then we could break down, okay, there's a C sharp minor 7 flat 2 or whatever you want to call it, right? And there's a place for that. But I know if you cannot make a personal connection to that and feel that your art is being used for a purpose, you won't stick with it. You will go away from it because you'll feel forced. And when you start feeling that you're doing wrong, you know, art is supposed to be a space where there is no right or wrong. How could you say you painted something wrong? Because it's your perspective. How could you technically place something wrong? But we take on that through someone else telling you, oh, yo, you should have hit B instead of the C. But really, anyone will tell you who's been a long-term in their craft that you can make anything work. A person who's a master painter can get busy with a piece of chalk. You know, a great person can get busy with their voice with very minimal things. So we have to go back inside to know that the power is within you, and you got to bring that what's within you outside, because if you go within, you're never going to be without. So, you know, that's how it led. And, you know, for the nuts and bolts people, because I get out there, you know, I have done curriculum and we do workshops, and, you know, I have worked with, you know, schools that have lost their music and arts programs. So a big thing is helping, you know, when the schools defund the arts, they say, oh, we don't got time for art because we need test prep and academia. But if you excel in arts, you surpass every academic standard. The discipline and focus it takes for your craft, you being a host, you getting your equipment set up, those are what are actually becoming the 21st century skills that are the highest paid job skills in the markets. And if you're creative, you know how to work with so little and make something out of nothing, which is the idea of an artist, a blank page, a blank canvas, silence, and then composing from nothing. And that's what people who have been historically oppressed are super skilled at. My mom stretched them food stamp checks for meals for all of us. We never went hungry, you know, off of that. The same skill. And I said, my mom is a genius. She never went to college. My dad never went to college, you know what I mean? University. So I started realizing I was blessed, and I was a high level student when I chose to leave college after one semester. I gave my parents a report card with A's, and I said, this is destroying my soul, because they're telling me that this is what I'm doing is wrong and I should do this, and I'm seeing the results of it, and it's becoming people who create something that mimics art. If it was the equivalent of an artist, they're just trying to paint exactly like a photograph, but you're not bringing your style into it. which is where I get the idea of improvisation, and freestyle, which is to free your style once again. So there has to be space held for it. So Creative Expressions did get founded, it's 10 years actually, in September of 2012. Rest in peace to my cousin. She was the one who helped me make it a legal entity. I started doing the work volunteer for no money, no nothing, in the housing projects, or the estates is what you guys call in the UK. And I just did the work volunteer, and I got so good at it, teachers asked me to come into the school. And then I got paid. I didn't know how like invoices and W-9 worked. Then the IRS was like, yo, it's money. You're making money. I was and my cousin said, come, we're gonna create an entity so you could, make write-offs and you could calculate your expenses. I was so nervous because they told me I owed them taxes on like 30 grand. I didn't have no money. I spent all the money on living. And in 1 year, I went from being negative to literally being in the green. And I said, wow, I want to show this to other people, because I felt so humbled, So that's how Creative Expression was founded. And when it became more than I could teach, I would just bring in my other artist, musician homies and just say, look, I'm going to create a course. And this is how I built my first course. I called it the Artivist training. It's now been called, to say that this is going to show you how to make the lesson plans, how to make the curriculum. And then now we've been evolving it into like grant writing for artists to help us sustain financially and help us go to the next level. So that's the latest one I've been working on to do it. So it's a bottomless pit. And then I balance my creativity with that left brain and right brain. And yeah, we have over 35 teaching artists, and we're working on getting more funding for like operations, and I'm learning the marketing, shout out to Oni and that. So like, this is the reason I'm on here with you, because I get nervous because I'm like, yo, am I gonna have to? He's like, why? Just get on there and be yourself, man.
Exactly.
Just be yourself. And now I'm learning that the world is caught up, you know what I mean? 15, 20 years ago, people were coming on like, hey, I'm blah, 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 like we're coming off like we salespeople, but like, nah, there ain't nothing. But all of us deserve the divine abundance. All of us have something within us, and creativity is a divine right, and there is a way that we should all do what we love for a living, because that will make you the most happiest, and money will come, the ability to take care of yourself can come to it, but you have to believe. But I almost say you can't give yourself no plan B. You got to go all in, 10 toes in, all money in, like the great Nipsey Hussle said, rest in peace, So that's really the foundation of it. It's a learning process. It's a non-hierarchical organization. So everyone has the ability to give feedback. And, some people dislike it, but I just say, nope, this is the fluidity that I'm choosing to run this. And if people come in for a year or two and dip out, they take what I do and make their own business, it's welcomed. It's always welcomed. I don't want ownership over nobody. We do teach people about intellectual property and how to do those things. And every couple of years we have to relearn, because the mediums and the forms that we express our art change. So I'm a permanent student. So Creative Expressions has just been my outlet to be able to provide what I've learned for others, and continue to offer my services and get it in there. So that's what it is. We do offer courses, curriculum, and anybody can hit me up for that. Our website is creativeexpressions.co, and any feedback is welcome. If anyone is willing to be there, I will never turn anyone away due to lack of funds. That's how I am. Money gonna come, money gonna go. That's what it is. It's an ends to a means. If you have a good heart and a good spirit and you're willing to serve something greater than yourself, I believe we can work something out that feels fair for everybody. You know what I'm saying? But we do got to survive and take care of our necessities as well. So I'm once again learning. It's a delicate balance, but it's all doable. And that's why the company was founded. And, my mission has and continues to evolve. And, now I kind of serve as more of a program director, and I design most of the programs. And then I'm empowering a lot of people to do what I did 10 years ago, to kind of take in that position with more ease than I did. So the word I learned instead of a mentor or educator is facilitator, which comes from the Latin origin of facile, which is to make easy. My job is to take what's in there and how do we create a simple process for us to use the art, the technology, and evolve and not get stuck in archaic ways that maybe no longer serving us, and also making sure our work is participant led. So, I can dive deep into that as a whole thing, but I wanted to make sure, that's shouted out. But yeah, we got the goods for y'all, and we're always willing to learn. And yeah, it's an ever evolving process. So thank you for asking about that.
Guys, you definitely need to make sure you hit up Y. okay?
Yeah.
And ask as much questions. And literally, that's his name, why, okay? So there is a question and a question and a question. And he
Inception. We're
doesn't
going in
mind.
deep.
And he doesn't mind. I would love to ask, this is a spontaneous question,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, of course.
If your aura, and aura is a powerful
Yeah.
spiritual means to us all. And once you've tapped into that, it's a beautiful thing to be able to tap into. If your aura was a color, what color would your aura be? The reason why I say this, because every color has an expression, has a meaning, has a fluidity within us. What color would your aura be?
Just like the last one, this comes to me real quick. And people will argue with me, is this a color or not? Clear.
That's
And
a
the
good
reason
argument, actually.
this is a deep one, and the reason I say, well, someone goes, well, how is clear a color? And I said, well, what color is water when you put it in a cup? And there's a clear nail polish, and there's the window, right? There's glass, right? And it's there, and it's like the reason and this shows you guys where my mind and my spirit is at. The reason is I seek literally through etymology clarity. And I'm into the chakras and the musical notes that are connected to the chakras. And when I started studying red, root chakra connected to C, D, Roy G. Biv, for those, the color spectrum of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, right? There is said that when all of these things, also referred as the Kundalini energy, activate together, what happens is the sphere or the sphere, which is the electromagnetic field of the aura, comes in. We are now in this level where they speak of what are the above things, the things that go above our mind, which I think goes into where we're at now is a higher consciousness that we're tapping into. And the reason that I'm looking above and beyond my body is there's that infinite blackness of space, and there is the depth of our ancestors that were here before me. And they have done so much struggle to allow me to be at this point of my existence. So I would not be here without standing on the ground of my ancestors. I also know once I pass from this physical realm, there is something beyond this realm, and all will return from which it came. And that to me is that space. And that space of when we're reduced to that nothingness is also a clarity. And, I used to think, once again, this was like an unknown thing, or I used to, beat myself up about it. But now I can confidently say that it's that clarity, and that is what I seek to balance of it, because it was always so hard for me to choose a favorite color, and for those things, like choose a favorite, favorite food, everything. To pick a favorite was hard for me. But now, like, I keep seeing zero, I keep seeing clear, I keep seeing those things, and that has allowed me to feel more solid in my work, ironically. So, like, I would say that if I did, and I always want to be a non-dodge into question person, the colors that I tend to gravitate toward myself are actually gray. I wear a lot of gray and a lot of bluish gray, and I love like overcast days, which is maybe why I liked it in England. And you know why gray? Because it seems like, people are like, yo, you're such a vibrant energy. You like gray? And it's like, because before I would like black and white. For a while I was like wearing a lot of just like, even the shirt I wear is black and white, right? I noticed when you mix that black and white, you get the gray area, which represents the unknown, which represents, and now when skies are overcast, right? It's what allows you to appreciate the day, and then eventually those clouds dissipate to make room for it. But it's also those rain, when the rain is being held, that contains that water, which is life, So there's a lot of energy I do like about. I tend to wear a lot of grays and a lot of bluish grays that are like those colors. But yeah, I like kind of, because I feel in my own way that like I want to let my energy be that vibrant. And I tend to like to remove a lot of things. As you see, I don't have much stuff in the background. I like the absence and space of things, because I feel like it allows me to bring clarity. And that's really the vibration I'm on, to keep the aura clear, and to know that I can see through the the illusionments that I have, because I'm like anybody. I'm not perfect. I got my flaws, and I wear them proudly on my sleeve. And I'm out here to be authentic, but that's that rawness, to get that clarity. And it is the first thing that came to my mind, and I'm learning how to just trust in that and give you that answer. But we unpack it as we go, you know?
I like it.
So-
I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just gonna let
Yeah.
my cat free, okay?
Ooh, do it.
Okay, he's happy now.
Yes. The cat out.
I let him out, set him free. That'd actually be a good song title, I set him free.
I love it. Yeah, cats, they give so much love because they also know the balance. They're not like dogs. This is my first cat I've had for now 3 years. And she teaches me so much because she knows when she wants affection and not. She knows when she wants to be left alone.
Yep.
And it's like, wow, they're so independent, yet they're so spiritually like aware. And I feel like they see something that, is on another vibration. So I'm always thinking like, what do y'all know that we don't know? You know?
Yeah. I love it. He was like, it's dinner time. And like you say, he didn't even need to look at the time. He just knew.
Yeah,
He just
intrinsic.
knew.
Yeah,
that's
you
cool.
know, love. You already know. This is beautiful.
So I only have 2 more for you. Why?
Ooh, I could keep going all night with you. It's great.
You know what? That is so true. I agree with you.
Yeah,
there.
this felt like 5 minutes. I
Yeah,
can't
it did.
believe it. I'm like, did we get it done? Did we do it? But that's that jazz. That's that jazz.
Oh,
you know what I
man.
mean? We just hit a solo right there. We did a duet right now, and we're just like, wow.
Oh man, I love it.
Yeah,
I totally
this is
love it.
amazing. Yeah.
So if I said to you that I was gonna put you on a desert island, and you were allowed to take you and your guitar, but
Ooh.
also have
Mm-hmm.
an activist,
Mm.
a president,
Ooh.
and a musician with you, who would you take and why?
Okay.
This is going to be interesting.
This is good. Man, that's all. Okay, I'm starting with one. Let's go with activist first.
Okay.
First came to mind. The first two I'm gonna have to narrow down between is Angela Davis and Bell Hooks. I'm going Angela Davis. I mentioned Bell earlier, but Angela Davis, she's an abolitionist and someone like I'm going Ange. Check out, just go into her. But Angela, I saw her speaking on something relatively recently, and she was talking about why certain things are not supposed to be reformed. We just need to let them go and create the new.
Yes.
Because a lot of times our energy is spent in trying to reformat something that doesn't work for us or has been a system of oppression into something that can serve people. But if its roots are rooted in oppression, why not just let it go and create something that is not founded in oppression? So that's what I would tap into Angela Davis for, because I would say let's make something new. We're on this island, so the abolitionist approach heavy into her work, and really really informed my switch of how I define activism. So, and of course another amazing powerful Black woman. So boom, the mother of creation, she gonna be up in there. You know what I mean? We gotta bring them with us. So that's my activist. What was the other one you said?
President.
Ooh, president. I'm going radical, man. I'm gonna have to go with I'm botching the name, but it was the original of IT who beat all the colonizers out in Jean. Man, I don't want to say the wrong name, but he defeated the Spanish and the French colonizers, because what was Hispaniola? They divided it now into Haiti and the Dominican Republic.
Yes.
He, through grassroots methods, was able to, and that's why to this day they never let Haiti play off their freedom, because the Haitian independence, when I got into study, and the last place I worked before the pandemic was in a place called Kenskoff, Haiti. And when I saw the strength of that people, I have not been to Africa, but that was my closest connection. Like, they'll take a patch of grass that someone would just overlook, and they would just create something out of it. They built their own transportation systems with abandoned things that were looked at as garbage from other places on the planet. They were doing upcycling, and one of the highest levels of things, because Haiti is marked as such an impoverished place, but the music, the art that came out of there is so high vibration And I'm pardon that I don't have the name, but it would be that brother who basically fought off any colonizing energy because he understood that the answers are within the people, and these were colonized imperialist energies coming to take over what was a tiny island at the time, Hispaniola, and he had the sauce, man, and wasn't afraid to do it by almost like prior to Malcolm. I would say that. So he was the original Haitian. Pardon that his name is slipping me right now, but I know he was a Jean. And he relentlessly fought for the independence of his people and got that. So that combined with that Angela Davis is the sauce. For me, that's that part that keeps revolutions, which are circles, 360 degrees.
Don't worry, we'll find out his name, guys, and we'll put it in the
We'll
description.
get the name and we'll throw it in there. Yeah, we'll find it. And then the third was musician, right?
Right.
That's the hardest one, and that's why I'm stalling on it. But man, on a deep level, the person who has probably impacted me the most. Let me allow the source to send me. It's got to be a woman, man, because I tend to listen to mainly women.
I like
man,
that.
It's just that they have. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like something around a woman's energy. It's just the nature of women physiologically is a birthing energy. So I would, man, I'm going Nina. And you know why I'm going Nina? Nina, people may not know, Nina has an amazing classical background. During
Yes,
the
she does,
time,
yes.
she had the full-on background. Plus, she came up in the black church. Plus, she evolved into the jazz. And at first, her voice, her register is where most male are. She'll hit that low tenor. And at first, she was looked at as, she doesn't have to. And her first gig, she didn't play the piano. She just went and sang because they were like, hey, you're a woman. You need to stand and do this and be this. And then she was like, yo, fuck that. I'm coming in. I'm doing this. And then she started, black is my color. And like, she would just put your hairs on edge and just look at you in the eye and say something. And she was supposed to go to Juilliard, and she had the skill level, had the talent, could sight read, could do everything that was on the level, but simply because she was black and her dream was to play in Carnegie Hall, she ended up going toward other styles of music, which opened her to blues and jazz, which then became, I almost feel like it was ordained, because her goal was, she wasn't originally going to be a vocalist. And she had such a unique vocal timbre, and she was so good at what she did with composition and arrangement. Like, her music is still relevant. And I got into her through hip hop records that were sampling Nina Simone. All the way up into Lil Wayne, you could hear misunderstood takes from Nina. Her music is timeless. And the fact that she was an ever evolving artivist, in my opinion, it would have to be Nina. And yeah, she stood for so much, and she never stopped evolving artistically and musically. And, she went on to do her work, and she was so unapologetic about standing up for her people and her community as a dark-skinned black woman who was just like, wouldn't take anything and didn't conform to being a pop star. But yet I didn't know this, but her recognition came a lot later. So she took a long road when everybody was doing boo-bop, da-bop, da-bop, shoo-wop, love. She was deep into using her art as activism, and so I'm going Nina. I got Nina. I got the squad over there. Was there another one, or did we hit them all?
No, we hit them all.
Yeah, so I think if I got them, with that, I would be able to create a vibration that would allow us to, together.
I think
that would just be the sauce. Yeah.
I think you would levitate just from the names alone. Just before you even connect on the island, you guys would levitate. Man,
and thank you for this question, because you're making me think multidimensional of those different aspects that are my life. So you guys can't see this. I'm throwing up these hearts. You know what I mean? Just big love at this, because
I'm taking them. I'm trust me.
Sending that across the pond. You know what I mean? We out here
taking them. I only said I had 2 left, but for some reason I feel like I need to ask you this one. So
please, I'm here.
When was the last time that you felt your soul was totally at peace with itself?
Wow. I had a really rough experience on Monday, and Tuesday which was 2 days ago. Yeah, like a lot of people, I sometimes deal with like, that anxiety and that doubt to the point where it gets overwhelming. And I was in a deep position of questioning. I was asked to perform at this event, and I went out, and that wasn't the hard part, but I was on the ride home, and I was like, just like, to be totally honest, like this deep kind of sadness came above me, and I was just like exploring it, because I've been learning how to not repress my emotions and also how to deal with them without art, because to be honest, this is why, like, this is like a safety tool for me. I'm gonna take a vulnerable moment, right? Because sometimes when I think this is appropriate way that this is the question, to anybody who's ever feeling like you're not enough. And like, I had a lot of trouble expressing emotion. So I would put it in my writing. I'd put it in my music. But I'm learning now as an adult that there are certain things that I want to go beyond my title of an artist, activist, educator, you name it, right? I want to just be okay with just me. Just why? Just simple. And after I felt that deep sadness, and I couldn't really sleep that night, and I woke up the next day, a real sense of peace came over me. And I think it was because normally, I run to the notebook, I run to the instrument, and I go, okay, I gotta get this out. But that night, Monday night, for like the first time in a long time, I sat with it. I sat down with it. And when I woke up the next day, I'm not gonna lie, like I had tears. And a lot of time, I get to this point where I feel like the tears are about to come, and they don't. But they were able to come through, and I was like, yo, you're falling in love with you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've been waiting for this, to not need the show, to not need that. And I canceled the gig that I had on Tuesday. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm on low key, I was a little low on rent, you know what I mean? But I still let it go, because I was like, you know what? I can let these things go.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And the Most High is with us. And I don't need to be defined by my work. The capitalist structure really tells us that, like, we are defined by our output and our productivity. And I couldn't go into a room and not, like, announce myself as an artist years ago, I now I've been able to go up to people in more very recent years since this COVID time and just say hi and like be okay with that. And that's years of work, it's that. And I would say that knowing that you are enough, knowing that I am enough, and knowing that my work, I am greater than what I produce.
Yeah.
Because, I used to find all of my value and my identity in what I can create. So that's why I'd feel nervous when I wasn't in a space of creation. But now I'm learning how to, like, sit in stillness and deal with that, which is what allowed me to shift the schedule and do those things. And I still got, I still carry the tools with me, you know what I mean? But I feel like I'm not defined by them anymore, and I'm not limited by them anymore. Because, one of my mentors told me this, he said, why? This thing never plays itself, man. And he said, the more you get it, it's the more that you're translating your essence of your being into that. Yeah. And you are you when you're walking down the street, when you're sleeping, when you're doing these seemingly mundane activities. Know that you are the culmination of your entire life's experience.
See?
So that was it. Tuesday. On a Tuesday, we did it,
See, do you know what way? I think that's a beautiful way to actually end the podcast. But before I have the pleasure and gratitude of thanking you, I do want you to tell every single person who is listening where they can find you, how they can hit you up, how they can send a message to you, how they can send their energy to you. How can they find the beautiful why?
Yep. All right, let's do this the way I started all this music stuff. I'm doing it out with a freestyle. Okay. You started out on the Instagram. I'm at Why Not Show Love. If you gotta spell it, WHYNOT to the SHOWLOVE. I also got an artist website that's called whynotshowlove.com. Creativeexpressions.co is the place you gotta get it when you never really know. But I'm just being a little silly with the melodies. Got a flow that'll cause another felony. I'm behind my bars, the bars are set it, and I'm sicker than a person charged for a minute at the free clinic. So that website, once again, is whynotshowlove.com. Creativeexpressions.co. Instagram at whynotshowlove, show love. Bum, bum, bum. Holla at your boy. I'm here. I'm inside of you. I'm a part of you. I'm everything. I'm nothing. And I'm everything in between, yo. That's it. It was an honor to be here. And yep, for those who don't speak freestyle, once again, Why Not Show Love? WHYNOTSHOWLOVE.com. Why Not Show Love on Instagram, and Creative Expressions with the S.co for all the arts education work and the curriculum and the workshops if you need it. I'm here to listen. I'm here to learn. And anybody who reaches out, you are highly appreciated and you are highly respected, and I will do my best to see how we can align. Always keep an open ear and heart.
I love that. Why? This is where I say to you, thank you so much for taking your time, your patience, connecting with me and sending messages across each other through the planes of energy.
Ooh.
You know, thank you for your time as always, and just thank you for a beautiful interview. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
You're more than welcome, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the Us People podcast. And you can listen and subscribe and leave a review on any platform that you choose to. Also on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and again, any platform that you desire to listen to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also donate to the As People podcast by simply going to the Savia Rocks website by typing in paypal.me/Us People podcast. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another.
Time to let it go. Now's my time to let it go. Now is the time for me to focus. Stop all that playing hocus pocus. Stop doing it yourself. You need a little help. This time I wanna see you shining. I think you need a little guidance. You wanna feel alive.
Whew. Thank you, love. Wow, so amazing. Honored, and this felt like 5 minutes. It was like we broke the time-space continuum with this. So I had no idea, but wow, this was such an organic experience. I want to thank you for that, and yeah, I appreciate you. And you know, if there's any other way that I could support in addition to spreading the work and promoting, I'm gonna make sure I got all the links now in the email, so I'll be sure to blast it out. But yeah, just thank you for you. You are so like you hold space so well. It's like it's deceptively simple. That shows how much of a lovely spirit you are. You know what I mean? Like I'm very sensitive to energy, and I feel your energy all the way over here. So it's like, yeah, your tone is so incredible too. So like, yeah, your poise is very inspiring. So thank you for just like how you are. Your presence is so like filling, you know? It's just like a home cooked meal just being around you, you know? So thank you for that.
Let it breathe breath into life. Push all your fears to the side. Control your mind, it's all alright. Enjoy your life, the joy is mine. Commit to you, you got the tools. Everything you do, you make the rules. Sometimes